Welcome to the Lions Share, where we talk family, faith, football, finance, and fun. Today's episode brought to you by Mitch Lyons Wealth, uh, your best game plan to protect, grow, and win retirement. And today we have a very special guest, a former teammate of mine at the Pittsburgh Steelers, Hall of Fame center Dermontti Dawson. And we'd like to welcome Dermontti to the show. Dermontti, thanks for being with us today.
Mitch, you are more than welcome, my brother.
It's great to see you. And, we had to actually just talk to each other last week a little bit. Steelers have what they call the Lend a Hand program where former alums can get together on a podcast or, a Zoom and talk about different issues related to former players. So it's good to see your smiling face. And
Yeah, it was good to see you as well because I haven't seen you, I guess, since we retired.
1999. Yeah,
Yeah,
1999.
it's been a long time.
Yeah, and so I really appreciate you taking time today. And we've had being in the football season, the balls are flying around, and so we like to bring on some NFL guys. Like I mentioned, we had Tony Mandarich on an earlier episode, kind of talking about his career path, the peaks and valleys of his
Yeah.
situation, and then Cornelius Bennett last week. So love to have you on, man. So a second round pick out of Kentucky. It's interesting looking at kind of going back because before I was with you, I was with the Steelers. I guess 3 years before your last
97
year.
through 99.
Yeah. So, but geez, second round draft pick, and you come in and you play guard, and I didn't even realize this till reading it, but you played alongside Mike Webster that rookie year.
My rookie year, right before he went to Kansas City in 89.
Right. So
And then,
what
of
was
course,
that like? I mean,
they,
that guy, he was kind of a legend coming off the Steel Curtain years and still banging around, late 80s, even still when you got into the league.
oh, hey, Mike was phenomenal. I mean, his work ethic, was something else. And I'd come in early because I lived close to the stadium my rookie year, and I thought I was the first one in the weight room. I'd come in, and Mike is already in the weight room. And Mike was just a great guy, man. I give a lot of credit to Mike the way my career kind of turned out. Just kind of looking at his work ethic. In his 15th year, my rookie year,
Yeah.
he's first at every drill. Um, he's in the weight room, he's in the film room, and just a true professional. And when he left in 89 to go to Kansas City, then Chuck Lanza, who was originally supposed to take over his spot, Chuck Knowles said, "Well, I want you to play center because I played center in college as well." And so after we had the battle, my second year, um, Coach Knowles said, "Well, you won the spot." So long story short, hey, I finished up my last 12 years at center with Pittsburgh.
Yeah, you had a pretty good run,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
2012 Hall of Fame class, which is pretty cool. That's a great honor, obviously, and something I'll never get a sniff of, which I was joking with you about with my one career touchdown. But it's an honor for me for a guy that was, frankly happy to be in the league and try to fool him as many years as I could, right? And to play alongside guys like you and the thing I always loved about you, Dermontti, is I mean, you're just and you're just a super nice guy, humble, right? You never thought you were too big for your britches, which was great as a team for a teammate, right? And Jerome was the same way, and
Yeah.
just guys that you obviously were elite in what you did, but you didn't act like you were better than anybody, and I always appreciated that about you.
Well, hey, I appreciate it, Mitch. Yeah, I mean, I don't care how much success you have as a player. I know some people tend to kind of thrive on the success, but it can change in a heartbeat. So you got to keep working and don't get too high. When you have all the accolades, people are saying this about you. You got to keep an even keel about yourself.
For sure, and
Yeah.
I remember Coach Cower. This is a line I always remember, and I repeat it often. You're never as good as you think you are, or you're
You're
never
never
as
as
good
bad
as
as they say
they
you
say
are.
you are, and you're never as bad as they say you are, right?
Hey, keep it all in perspective.
Yeah, don't get caught too much up in the press clipping. So,
That's right.
I mentioned to you last week on the Steelers Zoom that I had lunch with Mike Mularkey last week down in Florida, and Mike was our tight end coach back in the day in the '90s there with the Steelers before he went on to head coach, and he's another guy that right was just humble and a good guy and just one of the good guys in the game, and I think of you in that same vein. So
Right.
let's talk Hall of Fame. I had Biscuit on last week, Cornelius Bennett. He's on the outside looking in still, a guy that's probably worthy of consideration for sure, and probably will get in eventually. But
You
you
should.
didn't have to wait that long. I mean, what does that mean to you as a kid growing up, and you got these aspirations of playing NFL football? I mean, for me, I guess I wanted to play NFL football. Thinking about getting to the Hall of Fame wasn't even something I dreamt of, really, to be honest with you. But
Yeah,
what
yeah.
does that feel like when you slap on the gold jacket and you get to rub
Oh,
shoulders with all the greats that
hey,
you grew up watching?
well, it's great, when they start talking about Hall of Fame for your career, and following Mike, who is a Hall of Famer as well, and for me to have the same success as Mike, it's a great honor. But you still got to put in the work, though. You still got to put in the work. And when they start talking about Hall of Fame, that's the ultimate honor for any NFL player. But it's funny because I really didn't start football until my junior year in high school. And I was always track and field, and I was a state champion in shot, discus, a 4.4 sprinter in high school at 250 pounds. And so I had track scholarship offers all over the country as opposed to football. And the only reason why I chose football, and I said, well, maybe I can make some money if I play football in college and make it to the pros. And so I chose football and kept doing my thing for football. And next thing you know, I get drafted in the second round to the Steelers in the '88 draft.
Well, I always say, and I think it's true in a line position too, but I always say that the one position that you can just be a good athlete, like most sports, right? If you don't play baseball growing up, you're not just going to jump in and be a great baseball player. You're not going to just
Yeah,
jump into
yeah.
tennis in your high school years and be a great tennis player. But football's a little different. If you're a good athlete, and I always say, hey, if you're a good athlete, stick you on the end of the line and rush the passer. You can teach a guy that if he's got explosion and strength and all that. And probably a little of that's true as well on the offensive line. If you're explosive, if you've got leverage, natural leverage, and you can learn, the techniques, I think you can make a guy. And that's kind of, what I'm hearing you say. You really didn't play until your junior year, and but you were a great athlete. You mentioned sprinter, and then I was going to ask you, kind of what you felt, and then I'm leading the witness because that was your differentiating factor, in my opinion, was your speed, right? I mean,
Yeah, quickness.
the
Yeah.
thing that amazed me was, hiking a ball. First of all, it's hard to hike a ball and get that hand back up to attack a defender, right? People that don't know, don't know.
Oh
But
yeah. Oh
you're at
yeah.
a disadvantage from the get-go. But man, you used to hike the ball and you'd be the pulling guard, so to speak. Most teams have their guard pull, and Steelers would just have you go out and pull and lead a sweep, which is unbelievable. Not too many guys can do that.
Well, it's funny. In '92, I think when Bill Cowher came, when I started pulling consistently,
Yeah,
I think we were preparing because we used to take the first Monday and prepare for the upcoming opening game season for the regular season. And I think we were going against Philly, and they started having like a gap defense, which was, looking at the film, they were having problems getting to the second level. And I told Coach and Ron Earhart, I said, well, hey, I can make a false call or a live call, communicating down the line of scrimmage, and I can have the guard take my position or my job, or then I can just pull and take his guy.
right.
And we started doing it in practice. And then when one day after I told Coach Cower that we started practicing it, he brought me into the film room. He says, I kind of like this, because it makes it tough for the defense to make adjustments. So, they can't gap guys and
Yep.
occupy two players on the line of scrimmage, and then the linebacker's free. So we started doing it, man, and he started to love it. So, and like I said, I was already athletic at that time, and I could
Yeah.
run. And so we started incorporating that, and, people couldn't stop us.
Yeah. And you did a pretty good job for the next 8 years on after you really started doing it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You
And I
you know
think I'm sorry. Hey, Mitch, I think that's, the thing to because we kind of changed the game, the way people look at centers, because it used to be that center was the most unathletic person on the line of
Absolutely.
scrimmage. Now, a lot of teams, want a more athletic center because it just gives you options.
And you mentioned following in the footsteps of Mike Webster, 15-year vet. I mean, you played 13 years, and the Steelers have continued to have a pretty good progression of centers even after you. Pouncey and now Zach Frazier. I like watching him play the game because he's a physical dude that just
He sure is.
likes to put people on the ground, which is fun to see. Uh, so let's go back. So, your last couple of years, you got dinged up with a hamstring, and you played 170 straight games, up until the '99 season. You tear a hamstring and you miss parts of the next two seasons. and then it was time to be done. So what was that like for you? And it's a little different for everybody, I think, but what was that like? Your game, your life for the last 13, 17 years counting college has been predicated around football every day. What was
Yeah,
that
yeah.
transition like for you?
Well, when I made a decision to retire, it was in after the 2000 season. So I was at home rehabbing, from my hamstring tear. And I was at physical therapy, and I said, man, I still have pain in my hamstring. And I'd already been through it, in 99 and midway through the season, because it tore in 99 halfway through the season, and also 2000 halfway through the season. So at home, rehabbing, I said, I don't know if I want to, go through this again, because I didn't think it was going to be strong enough to last a season again. So I had to talk to my wife at that time, and I told her, I said, I think I'm just going to make a decision to go ahead and retire, because I had 2 years still left on my contract, and I just didn't want to go through
Yeah.
the same routine each and every year, because I felt it wasn't fair to the team. So I just decided to go ahead and make the decision. I called Mr. Rooney and Coach Coward and told him that I think I'm going to have to retire.
So July comes around that next year. What are your feelings as the training camps start popping up on ESPN and all your friends are heading to camp? What were those feelings like for you? I mean, for me, my career ended suddenly with a knee injury that I knew I was done, and
Yeah.
when it really hit me was when it was time to go back to camp, right? And we're used to laying on some wet grass every morning, stretching out for that morning
Well,
practice.
yeah, yeah. You're regimented so
Yeah,
much, and it's part of your life for so long that you kind of miss it. I missed it for the first 2 years, and then after that, I got into business, and I was in commercial development, and then after that, it really didn't bug me too much.
yeah. I always say I miss Sundays. I don't miss Mondays.
There you go, because hey,
Yeah,
Mondays are always a sore day, and for us, when we had Tuesday off, but Wednesday practice was our installation on offense,
right.
and that was the hardest practice for us. And I always hated Wednesday practices. That was my worst day on Wednesdays.
Yeah,
Mondays I was fine coming in, getting treatment, working out. Tuesday we had off, so
yeah.
I felt pretty good on Tuesdays, unless I had an injury. Then I'd come into the locker room and get a little treatment.
And people hear me say, "Oh, he played 170 straight games. Wow, he was really healthy." Well, yeah, you're healthy enough to play, but that doesn't mean you're healthy
Yeah,
in
yeah, there
normal
you
human
go.
terms. You know,
There's a difference between being hurt and injured.
that I love that because that's exactly the quote I heard my first year in '97. I pulled a groin muscle about after the first preseason game. I had a pretty good camp. I'm trying to win the backup job to Mark Bruner, and I pulled my groin, and so I missed a few days of practice, and it was like the day before the next preseason game, and we're walking. Back then we had the grass field down from Three River
Yeah,
Stadium, and we're walking back, and Cowher's walking next to me. He's like, I really need to see you play. I need to see you play Friday. I think it was a Friday night preseason game. I go, yeah, can you go? And I'm like, I'm trying, coach. I can't really push off anything. Okay, I really need to see you play. There's a difference between being hurt and being
and
injured.
injured. Yeah. Oh, I
Point
know.
point taken, coach. So I suited up, and then my old college teammate Jim Miller throws me a seam pass, my first play in, makes me stretch all out, and I re-pull it again.
Oh
That's okay.
man.
I just had to keep going. I just played through it, but made the team fortunately. But that always stuck with me. Cower saying, there's a difference between being hurt and being injured.
Yeah, some guys can play through the pain, unless it's something,
Yeah.
bad, where you can't really do your job,
There's just
but
those this seasonal chronic type stuff you deal with too. For me, it was plantar fasciitis, man. Once that sets in, you can't get rid of it. There's no way you're getting rid of it until you just take time off after a season. And then I used to
yeah,
get
that's
Achilles tendonitis. Used to have a knob on the back of my Achilles.
that's all you can do.
I always thought that would be my career ender would be the Achilles. But it's nice. I don't miss those days at all. Having to get up in the middle of the
No,
night to go to the bathroom and you're walking
hey,
on
Mitch, I
nails.
don't either. People always ask me about, what was the hardest thing about professional football. I said, for me, it was always the Wednesdays. And,
Yeah,
of course, you get your, injuries and stuff, even in practice. I think practice is even worse sometimes than the games, because really you have fun in games, but the
yeah,
practice, I mean, you still got to go hard in practice in order to get the timing of the plays.
exactly.
So, you get dinged up in practice as well. I mean, it's a lot of contact.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's a great point. And you know, like you said, you were able to mentor under or be a mentee under Mike Webster, who's one of the greats. And
Yeah.
I think that's so important for young guys, and you really see it. You know, you think of a guy like you know, Randy Moss going to the Vikings, who's got Chris Carter, who's, you know, he kind of had the depths of his career, and by that point, Chris was straightened out, and what a great mentor for Randy Moss. But anybody, right? When you look at guys that you played with, in my days in Atlanta, I always Bobby Abear, I thought was a great guy and a great, you know, he
Yes.
played quarterback a long time, and Bobby knew how to do it. He treated it like a job. Clay Matthews, you know,
Yes,
longtime
indeed.
Browns. You battled with the Browns
Oh
many
yeah. Yeah. Many a times.
but Clay was a great guy, and another guy that I think is deserving of the Hall of Fame. That's waited a long time. I hope Clay can get in because he's one of the NFL's good guys too. He and Bobby were my two favorite teammates in
All
Atlanta.
right. Yeah.
Tell them both that. But
I haven't seen Clay at any events. I don't know what he's doing now,
he's
but
in
I
Southern
haven't seen
Cal. You
him.
should look him up. I got his info, so I'll get it to you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. It'd be
Clay's a
nice to just
great.
say hello to him.
Yeah, he's a great dude, and I'm trying to get on this podcast, but he's playing Mr. Shy Guy, so he doesn't
Oh, okay.
doesn't like to do
Okay.
interviews. So, but yeah, he'll talk all day in the locker room, but he doesn't like to do interviews. So I'm
Okay.
still working on him. But Bobby, I'm gonna have on as well because those are great guys in the game.
All right.
But you know, seeing guys like that have been at it so long, you don't get that long in the game. Clay Matthews played, I think, 19 years for crying out
19
loud.
years,
Played
I
till
think
he
it
was
was.
40
Yeah.
at outside backer, which is unbelievable. But watching, and I had the good fortune of lockering next to him in the facility. You know, just seeing how he went about his business every day. I mean, it says something. You don't play that long by accident. You know, you're
That's
doing
true.
something
That is
right.
true.
So. You know, a guy like
Yeah.
Webster, obviously, he's getting there early. Well, you better get there early too, right? I mean, it's kind of
Yeah. Well, when Mike left to go to Kansas City, I tried to kind of model what Mike did, how he would be first in line. And even when we went against the scout team or second team defense
right.
or first team, I would still get in and jump in there every once in a while. And then the coach would tell me to get out because he didn't want me to get hurt.
To run scout team, you're saying?
Yeah, yeah, to run
Yeah,
scout
hey,
team.
Dermontti, you're ahead for the Hall of Fame. We don't need you getting banged up.
Yeah, he said, we don't want to
On
get
the
you hurt,
scout team.
So hey, but I mean, that was just my work ethic.
Yeah.
I wanted to
Well,
get out there and give those guys a hard time and get better.
I appreciate that being the guy that started his career as a tight end in a run and shoot offense. I was the first guy they were saying, "Hey, go play guard on scout team. We need another body in there to." So I'm going up against like Pierce Holt and all these guys that
Yeah,
I got no
yeah.
business trying to block.
Oh, Pierce was he was a beast, man. Angelo
He was
State,
another guy that was a great dude, man.
he
Just
sure was.
off on the field, but as humble as can be off the field, and he was a great dude. Funny story. My first I think it was my first mini camp. Jerry Glanville's running mini camp down in Atlanta. We don't have helmets on, right? Brilliant idea. Probably should have helmets on, but no pads, no helmets. And we're running through plays, and I went to release inside to run a drag, and Mike Gann was the DN, and Mike jammed me, and Pierce was running a loop on outside the
Oh
you know,
Lord.
and we ran into each other and hit heads, and bong. I mean, my bell's ringing. I finished my route. I turned back around. Pierce Holt's laying down. We had just signed him to a guaranteed $7 million deal, which at that point was unheard of. You didn't get guaranteed
Yeah, yeah.
in '93. They had signed Pierce to 3 years, nine or $7 million, and he's laying down, holding his face, and I'm like, oh no! It broke his jaw.
Oh my
The
goodness.
next day, Jerry Glanville comes walking up to me at during training camp or during stretching in the first practice, and Mike Ruther was a backup lineman next to me. His nickname was Badger because he badgered everybody. But he goes, Badger. Glanville says, Badger, what round did I draft car 86? He never called you by your name. He always called you by your car number because he was a race car
Yeah,
driver.
yeah.
Either a nickname for you, he called you Car, whatever your number was. Badger, what round did I draft car 86 in? The 17th? Back then we only had 7 rounds, just like they do today. And he goes, I don't know, coach. He goes, and then he comes up to me, he goes, son, he got his cowboy hat with his glasses on. He says, son, you just broke my $7 million man's jaw. If you do that again,
Oh
you're going to be on the
man.
first bus out of here. I
Mm.
said, well, maybe we can, I'm thinking to myself, maybe we could have helmets on, coach, which we
Yeah, there
did
you go.
every practice after that. But
Well, don't blame me. Blame yourself.
that was my foray into NFL football to break the $7 million name man's jaw first
Oh,
practice. So
did you keep in touch with Pierce?
I don't know. I'd love to get a hold of him. He was one of those guys. He's a great dude, man.
Hey, I loved him, because we were at the All-Star games together and
Yeah.
we exchanged jerseys in
Yeah.
college before we
Okay.
got
Oh
drafted.
yeah, yeah. Oh, way back. Those also.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
way
Well,
back. Pierce was a great
I
guy.
crossed paths on in Pro Bowls or whatnot. You're a 7-time Pro Bowl, which is pretty impressive. 6-time first team All Pro, I should say, and 7 Pro Bowls. But that so yeah, you obviously rubbed shoulders with some great players in addition to everybody that we had on the Steelers and whatnot. So let's talk real quick about some of those guys you did play with. I mean, some guys that stick out to me, obviously going against D linemen, you went against some good D linemen there. I mean, who are some of the guys that stick out in those during those late 80s, 90s years when you were
Oh
playing?
shoot, hey, Levon Kirkland.
Lavon was a D lineman. He just played linebacker.
Well, yeah, he was one of the bigger
I was
linebackers.
going to get to him because he was just a freak, man. And
Oh, he was, and then sometimes, I like to tease Greg Lloyd as well and Kevin Green,
yeah,
uh, because sometimes I go out there and play tackle on the scout team and go against Greg or Kevin.
yeah.
And but I'm trying to think of all the other guys that Brenson Buckner, was a tough. He was tough.
Gold Steed.
Yeah, and Lorenzo Freeman, my rookie year, he was from University of Pitt, and
Okay.
Lorenzo played nose guard, and then also Carlton Hasserig. So I
Oh, he
had
was
two
a
of
big
those
boy.
guys to contend with, in practice, and Carlton made me a better player as well
Yeah,
because he was a wrestler, so he could counter your moves with his moves,
yeah.
and being a wrestler, so he knew how to use your weight to transfer it, to his advantage, and he made me a better center.
Speaking about good athletes that can play football, you see that sometimes, right? You see those wrestlers because they got the leverage, man. They
They
sometimes
do.
make that transition to D line or O line. And then a couple guys I crossed paths with during my days, they actually made the transition from football to wrestling after that, right? Bill Goldberg was a backup
Yeah, yeah,
tackle in
yeah.
Atlanta. He goes on to become the biggest thing in wrestling for a few years. And
Bill's out here in California.
is he okay?
Yeah, yeah. I see Bill every once in a while.
Well, tell him I said hello. We shared, we were on the Falcons a couple years, and I'd love to interview him because he's got a lot of stories, I'm sure. But
Yeah, he lives in
okay, yeah,
Bonzo, California.
yeah, well, great, yeah. And then, yeah, I was talking when I interviewed Tony Mandrich, right? For a guy that was larger than life coming out of college, obviously his pro career didn't live up to what all the hype coming out. But
Yeah,
I
yeah.
said to him, and I don't know if you remember this, but he was actually Tony was, while he was holding out prior to his first year in Green Bay, there was this talk about him fighting Tyson. And I don't know if you remember that, but that was a thing. There
No.
really was nobody else on the heavyweight circuit for Tyson to fight. So, it started being talked about. And Tony's price was, they threw out 10 million. They actually offered him 5 million to fight Tyson. And they
Holy
had
moly.
Lou Duba, the boxing promoter. He came out and worked Tony out to see, what kind of skills he had. And there were legitimate talks about him fighting, which is crazy. But I asked Tony, the guy with that kind of persona, and in this day and age with NIL and social media, he would have been huge and probably made more money with all that stuff.
Oh, you better believe it.
But I mean, he's a guy that if and some of his issues were addictions and whatnot, which he's been very open about. But that's a guy as big as he was. Heck, he could have and with a flair for the flamboyant because I was at Michigan State with him, so I knew him a little bit.
Yes,
And I mean, he could have been big on the wrestling circuit. But
he sure
to
could
his
have.
point, for a guy that was struggling with opioid, painkiller addictions and stuff, that's probably not the best place because you're getting banged around pretty good in wrestling,
That's
even
right.
though it's
Yeah,
fake.
you
You're
are.
still beating each other up. So.
Is Tony doing okay?
He's doing well. Yeah, he's living out in Phoenix, and I read his autobiography prior to having him on because he'd written that back in 2010, and so I learned a lot that I didn't know. I was a freshman his senior year in college, and that was the height of his hype, and I didn't really know his whole story afterwards, which is pretty amazing. It's a pretty good read if you're interested in reading it, but just how he's recovered, and people forget he came back and played 3 years. He got himself cleaned up after 3 years and came back and
Yes,
played for the
yeah,
Colts
I
a few
remember
years
that.
and started and. Played with Harbaugh back in the day there. So, but yeah, he's doing good. So,
Yeah, Tony was a good guy.
yeah, and he probably I'm going to be out in Phoenix here pretty soon, and I'm going to hook up with him and see him in person there. So, but
Okay, well, good, good. Tell him I said hello because
I
I saw
will.
him. This has been a few years ago
Okay.
at a card show,
Oh yeah.
and
All
we
right.
were, we were in the same car going to the show and going back to the airport. So we got a chance to talk.
Very
And I,
good.
I think I may have his number still. I
Yeah,
just
I'll get it to you.
okay.
Yeah,
Appreciate
he's a
it.
good dude. But yeah. So you mentioned Levon Kirkland. Obviously, Levon, man, he's a guy that big number 99, and
Number
they listed him
99,
at 255 or 260, but by the end of the year, man, that dude was like 285,
270.
290. But he could run like a deer. He always amazed me how he could run with the running
He
backs, and
was light on his feet.
I always took great pride in, I wasn't the fleetest of tight ends out there, but I always liked running routes against him. I'd always try to get him on the out and up, and the few times I did, I let him know it, just because he knew he had more
Oh yeah,
athleticism
you
than
got to
me. But
rib him every once in a
yeah,
while.
yeah, I used to love, if I could beat him, it was saying something. But the one thing I didn't like is when, they'd break up to do pass rush, they'd go backs and backers. We had to go against DNs and
Oh yeah,
linebackers, right? And you're sitting back there and you're kind of figuring out the math. You're seeing how the lines are coming up. I would
and who you're going to
always
go against.
I would always sub somebody in. Hey, whoever the third or fourth tight end, hey, why don't you take this next one? Because I see Levon's coming up next. Because the last thing I wanted was Levon having a 5 or 6 yard running start, head start. He's either going to bull rush you if you hunker down for that. He's going to,
Or he's going to
swim
try to
you,
swim
and,
you. Yeah.
and you're going to be flat on your face. So that was lose lose no matter what. So I figured
You
I'd
better
save
believe
some
it
years off
was.
my career and give somebody else that rep.
Hey, but those were good times, though.
They are, man.
They
I
were
miss
good
that.
times, man.
Yeah, I'd like to get back to Latrobe, just to I know they have some of the kind of the legends get together things, and I'd love to get back there maybe next summer. And
Yeah, I was going to try to go this year, but I had surgery. Yeah, on my foot, so I really couldn't go to training camp when they
well, you
all.
had back, you had foot, you should be good to go next season. Let's go.
Yeah, I hope
Get you
so. I hope
activated.
so. Yeah, hey, I tell you what, it would be nice to get back there, so it's always nice just to go back and just kind of visit and the smells of camp,
Oh man,
and you
yeah,
don't have to practice, and you can
yeah,
go home, you
exactly.
can leave.
People say, "What do you miss?" And it's the camaraderie, right? It's the locker room. I mean, you
Oh
can't.
yeah, yeah,
You can get competition out on the golf course, but I always tell people it's not quite the same in that golf locker room as it is in the NFL locker room,
that's
right?
right. Guys talking trash to one another,
Oh, the jokes and
um,
the
because we're all, the thing is, like I said, the camaraderie. It's
yep,
just because, it's one common goal that we're all trying to obtain together as a team. And that's something you can't get that feeling anywhere else.
yeah. Some of my greatest memories, I guess, are really going on the road, right? When it's just, it's a 53-man roster against, going to Kansas City, for example, where, screaming. And I was actually out of Kansas City for the first game this year. And that was the first time I'd been there since I blew my knee out my last game of my career. And that was pretty surreal to be back there because that place is so loud. But we played there a lot when I was with the Steelers in preseason and regular season. It seemed like every year we played them once or twice.
I know.
And that going on the road with 53, it's kind of like movie 300, right? And the guys are all going to fight this huge army, and I loved that mentality. You had less distraction because you didn't have to worry about all the tickets and family coming into town and all that, like
That's
home
right.
games or your family, dealing with kids and all that. But it's just it's a singleness. There's another cowerism, singleness of purpose, a singular purpose, and being
That's right.
focused on that. And I love that, and I miss that. But it's hard to duplicate it in real day life.
No, it is. It
But
really is.
but I do find myself, transitioning, becoming the coach cower, so to speak. Running a company myself now, and my kids are involved, and growing a business. So I find myself repeating a lot of those same phrases that Bill said, or other coaches I had over my career. Coach I had in Atlanta, Frank Gans, always talked about. We got to speak the same language, right? And I tell my team, hey, we got to be speaking the same language. We got to be on the same wavelength, and
You're on the
that's so
same
true.
page.
No different in line play, and everybody knows
Yes.
the signals and
Yeah.
making sure you can have five great offensive linemen, but if they're not working in concert with one another, it's not going to
That's
work.
right. It's not going to work.
Yeah. So,
Yeah. Well, all the things we learned as athletes, you can apply those to business and life in general,
absolutely. So, so
and
So give us an update. So now you're 20, what are we now? 24 seasons beyond your last playing days. You mentioned you'd been in some commercial real estate.
yeah, I've been in commercial real estate until the downturn of the market
Yeah,
in 2007, 2008, I think it
yeah.
was.
Vaguely,
So
I vaguely remember that being a critical time in finance history.
yeah, it was. Hey, when I retired, the market went down.
Yeah,
2007, the market again, with Wells Fargo, with the falsifying
yeah.
home loans, of course. And then after that, I had a chain of laundromats, and I sold those
Okay.
in 2011 or 2012, I think. Yeah, so I sold those laundromats, and then I started trying to get into coaching. So I did an internship with the Steelers, and then I was 1 year up in Cincinnati with Marvin, and then moved to California. Tried to get a job with the Chargers, but then they were talking about moving to LA, and I didn't want to, unsettle my wife at the time to move to LA because she was already established here at her job. And then after that, just last year, we started a company called All Pro Scouting. It's a ranking agency for high school athletes coming out,
Okay.
5 star to 1 star, and so we're doing that now.
Do
I'm
you running
doing that
camps
now.
for that or video or what are you doing?
Well, we are going to start holding camps in 2025. but we were just going to the flag football tournaments and getting the word out. So yeah, so now we have the subscription service, and they submit their film to a company called Quick Cut. They do all the editing, and we do the grading on their site. So we log in and grade them.
Yeah. And I would think if Dermontti Dawson's giving me a 5-star, I probably am passing the sniff test, and maybe coaches ought to lend a little credence to that assessment.
Well, most of the ranking services, they just use analytics and the measurables. We have the human eye, where we have a lot of Hall of Fame players and all pro players that do the evaluations. And
Yeah,
they write a summary at the end. We do video and audio as well.
that's great. Great.
Yeah, corrections and things they can improve on.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, that's something, I love watching film still to this day. And
I do as well.
got a friend that's playing at the collegiate level, and he's a tight end. So, and I know he can. Well, I can just say Colin Weber. He was a guest on the podcast a couple months back. But I think he's a kid that can play at the next level. And I have him send his game film, and I love watching his film and coaching him up. And
Yeah, yeah.
keep telling him the same thing Malarkey kept telling us: play to the whistle, to echo of the whistle,
There
get
you
on
go.
film.
That's right.
Get on
That's
film.
right.
One violent shove at the whistle. So, well, it's great. Well, hey, Dermontti, it's great to see you, man. You haven't aged at all. Your skin looks good. You got a little gray beard, but other than that, you look the same as maybe a little less hair up top, but
Hey, Mitch, about to turn 60, man.
yeah,
Time
yeah,
flies, baby.
it does fly.
It flies.
I'm 54 and trying to keep it all together, man. But it's great to see you, and God bless
You
you,
as well.
and good luck with your new scouting service. And if I see anybody around this way in Western Michigan, I'll let them know to engage you and
Oh
get.
yeah, hey, that sounds good. Yeah.
Is
All
it
pro
national?
scouting.
Is it national then, or
Yeah, you can go to the website, All Pro Scouting. You get all the information. You can sign up as well.
great? Well, I appreciate you coming on, and again, this episode brought to you by Mitch Lyons Wealth, your best game plan to grow, protect, and win retirement. And we thank you once again, and good luck with everything, Dermontti.
Hey, thank you, Mitch.
And go Steelers! Here we go.
You got it.
All right.